Alright guys, I thought I'll get Keenan to sit down and have a little chat with us and just have a little talk and just sort of just explain where his background in real estate came from, and yeah, just get to know Keenan a little bit, the name, the face behind the name Keenan Real Estate. You want to tell our friends how you started Keenan Real Estate, or back it up a bit, when you started real estate?
I started real estate in 2003. So at that point in time, we were newly married, and we only had our first child. He was only 8 months at the time, and at that point, I knew that I needed a career change. I needed something that was going to, be there to provide for my family. And I was working in retail, which was very limited from that point of view. And Melissa was home with our little one at the time, so Melissa did give me a push. She did give me a nudge, and she was looking in the local rag, or the local newspaper if you want to call it, and she noticed a couple of ads, and she said, why don't you apply for a few of these ads? So I looked at a few of them and applied for two. One ended up being the owner of the company actually knew one of my family members very well, so that kind of helped me get my foot in the door. But got an opportunity there, and that was 10 years. That really gave me a good launch into the industry, and yeah, I mean, I loved it. So real estate, I was hungry, I've got a young family, really, I just had that drive and desire to achieve. So that's how I started.
What made you leave your old job and start Keenan Real Estate?
Well, I've been doing it for 10 years, and the environmental workplace that I was in kind of really didn't fit in with my values, my beliefs. Just the way business was conducted, really, it didn't align with my values. So at that point in time, I built quite a large community of contacts, and most of my work was referral and repeat. So again, I think it was on a Sunday afternoon, we still do have our Sunday Arvo chats, and Melissa said, hey, what? It's always you that instigates it, so God knows what's next. But anyway, she...
you don't want to know what's next. I've got big plans for KRE.
So she kind of, suggested, why don't you go it on your own? And, funnily enough, within about a week or 10 days, things just kind of happened from there. I think once you mentally make that decision and you take that step to move forward. It doesn't even have to be physically. Once you've made a decision in your mind, I think things just align, and everything, you kind of attract everything towards heading in that direction. So things just happen very quickly, business ideas and contacts to get my full license. Within a matter of weeks, I think it was about a month. Within a month, I had everything set up. Had my license, had my business set up, and it was amazing. It was effortless. It was really quick. So to answer the question, it was time for me to move on, just with the values and the beliefs. I had a large community of people that I was dealing with. I was already generating my own business anyway. So it was perfect to step out of that environment and create something new, create something that I knew that would work for me and my family, and it kind of gave me a little bit more time with the family, a little bit more flexibility. When you're your own boss, you do have that flexibility, but I mean, with me, it was still early mornings, late nights, but I fit everything in well. I was coaching my son's basketball team at the time. You kind of just make things work.
We won a grand final, didn't we? We won a grand final with us when Keenan coached the boys in basketball, so that was an awesome achievement, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that was 7 years ago, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I love about Keenan and the fact that he's been in real estate for so many years is that over the years, a lot of your clients have now become friends, and you've got to see a lot of your clients get married, have kids. A lot of your clients have, when we had our first son, Jordan, give us presents and cards, and then we had our second child, and then they would give us presents and cards, and they got to know a bit about our family. And random fact about Keenan, for those of you who may not know, Keenan is the father of 4. I'm a mum of 4. We have 4 kids together. And yeah, and I just love how your clients, most of your clients become your friends, and they know our family, and we get to know their family, and people invite us over for dinner and bring the children gifts. And I love that part about the real estate and the community and the friends that you meet along the way.
You do. You meet so many lovely people, and I always say this to Mel, I would have somewhere to go to eat every night, because people are always inviting me over. Keenan, come over for a drink, come over for dinner, why don't you stop in? Honestly, so many invitations. And I spoke to one client the other week, and I first met them about 15, 16 years ago, and his son would have been about 9 or 10 at the time, and he's like, Keenan, it's been a while, but my son's bought a property. And I'm like, what? Your son? He's like, yes. I said, how old is your son now? And he's like 24, and I'm like, what? You're kidding me. So now the picture in my mind is this 9-year-old kid, and now this child has become an adult, has bought a property, wants to rent his house out. And I'm like, whoa, that is just amazing. Like, time just absolutely flies. So you get to really be part of these people's lives. You get to see their children grow up, and a 9-year-old now is a property owner. So I'm starting to feel a bit older now.
You are ticking along in age, aren't you, Ken? And another thing is, whenever we go to the shopping centre, or whenever we go out and about, wherever it may be, if we're in the city or anywhere we go, Keenan bumps into clients wherever we go. So as soon as someone, we meet someone, Keenan starts talking, we're like...
Go to the Gold Coast and we bump into people.
Yeah.
It's a small world. It's a very, very small world.
Yep, so Keenan has a lot of friends everywhere. He's a popular guy. So what has been one of the loveliest moments being a real estate agent in all your 16 plus years of experience in real estate? What's been one lovely memory that will always stay with you?
I don't know if there's one particular memory, but there's lots of little memories. Now, I break it up into 2 parts, because you've got the buyer part and then the seller part. So with the buyer, most of my demographic and most of the area I cover are first home buyers, right? So that's the majority of my business. Some investors, but yeah, mostly sort of that first home buyer segment. And the look on people's faces when they secure a property, when they get the keys, like, there's just so much joy. And I remember getting the keys to our first place. I mean, although we had to do a lot of work, no matter what I do now, I could go build a mansion on 20 or 30 acres, but you know what? That will never top the feeling of getting the keys to my first home. So I know that feeling, and I treasure that feeling, and I think of that every time, buyers settle on a property. I know that feeling. There's just no better feeling than getting the keys. So to me, it's every transaction. I know it, and I know what they're feeling. They're just elated. They're joyful. Like, there's no better feeling than that, right? From a first home. But then from a owner's point of view, you're helping people's dreams come true. I mean, often clients that buy properties will stay there for 2 or 3 years, and then they'll go build a dream home, or they'll go to the next step. They'll move into state, and just to see where they've come from and where they're going it's nice, because they're so proud of themselves. It may have been just a single guy, maybe they bought his first home, and then he meets his partner, and they get married and have a kid, and then they have another child, and then that home's too small, then they need something bigger. So to see them progress into something, progress to the next stage of life, I mean, that's nice too. They're growing. You're watching people grow, and to me, that's nice. It's nice seeing them expand. Yeah.
It is lovely to see people's journey, and where they were and how far they've come. It's lovely, isn't it, to see that and experience that with them.
Yeah, and I'm with them every step of the way. Like I always stay in contact with all my clients. I'll call them at least every quarter. We send out newsletters. We keep people up to date. Like I like that after sales sort of service, whereas most agents or any salesperson. I mean, I've bought so many cars, and you might get a generic email, but never has a car salesperson even got on the phone and say, "Hi Keenan, how's the car? How's it going?" And I do that year after year after year. And to be honest, after 10 years, it's like, what else can I say to this person? But I just do it anyway, because I know that after sales support is so important, and it just shows you time after time. I've attempted to communicate with people for years, and then out of the blue they'll tell me, "Look, we still get your Christmas cards. Thanks for your, we got your messages. We're busy, but thank you, and we'll call you when we need something, or we're ready to do something now." So to me, it's that communication, it's that constant support, and that's that's what happens. I do that with every single client.
Okay, one more question. Maybe another 2 more questions. Next question. What would be one of the toughest parts of real estate in your experience over all these years?
The toughest part, again, with when there's good, there's bad. So you're helping people's dreams come true. First-time buyers, they're joyful, but I mean there is a dark side to real estate as well. And unfortunately, I do come across a lot of marital, so relationships that break down, deaths, and it's not a joyful time. So although you might get a good result for that client, there's no smiles, no joy, no popping champagne. It's like it's very awkward. They know they need to move on, but still, it's not a nice thought. I've got a very good client. It's the second property I've sold for them in 15 years, and I had to sell their property not long ago because one of the partners died, and you could tell he was trying to be strong, and he was laughing and carrying on, but that was his way of coping with it. But yeah, I know he loved his wife dearly, and that's hard when you see that, when someone's been married for, it's been at least 45 years. And the result was good. And in a short period of time, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter when it comes to situations like death. Like, it doesn't matter. You're really just doing the inevitable, and that's just kind of helping them to the next stage of life. And
see, I get teary just listening to you say that, because that's why I can't be a real estate agent, because I'd probably be crying all the time. I see, being Keenan's wife, I see behind the scenes of, Keenan's business deals and things like that. And you're absolutely right. There is a dark side to real estate. There is real people, real feelings, real situations that people go through. And it's not easy. And me, listening to the stories behind the scenes, it's tough for me to sort of listen to and everything. So being an agent in the forefront, dealing with this face to face, you have to have compassion. You have to have a heart of understanding.
Yes.
You have to, be strong for your clients and your vendors, and that's not easy. Real estate isn't all glitz and glamour and look at me and my suit and my watch and my designer label stuff. There is real people, real lives here, and people's real feelings. And people dealing with very difficult situations. So that's tough. That's hard. I remember. Excuse me. A lot of you guys don't know this about Keenan, but Keenan is a very compassionate person. I'm not just saying that because I'm his wife. Those who know Keenan will say the exact same thing. We had one lady one year who had a little 6-month-old baby, and she lost her husband due to a freak accident. And she was devastated. She couldn't go back into her home because all of her husband's belongings were there, and she had a little baby, and she needed help to move her things out and move elsewhere. So Keenan went in and helped her with our son at the time, who was maybe 13 years old.
Yeah.
Jordan was 13 or something. And they went and helped her move her belongings and transport things and pack things up. So not only is there the real estate and a business transaction, there is the human side as well, and the human nature to help other people in need as well. So that's just one of the things that, a story that Keenan's, helped with, and goes beyond the job of real estate. But that's not ordinary for Keenan. That's just who he is, and a lot of you guys don't see that side of him. But there's more to real estate. There's the practical side and the compassionate side that you go over and beyond for your clients as well. And
not only that, then there's the financial side too. A lot of people sell because of financial stress, and then again, you're getting a great result for people. You're getting a property sold for a good price in a short period of time, but there's no joy because you've just ripped their family home away from them. So that too is really hard to see. It is really, really tough. And then you might need to help them with a rental property while they rebuild and get back on their feet. So sort of deaths, sort of relationship splits and finances, they're not, it's not a pleasant result in the end for me. That is because, I mean, how can it be nice? It's not nice.
Oh, that's
and
tough.
we do get a lot of those. I mean, that's just reality. That's life. You do get a lot of those, but yeah. So it's not all. You know, you might see just sold and we did this and we did that, and but yeah, behind the scenes, it's not. It's not great. Like, it's not nice. It's not great to, you know, the kids get upset and then they think, you know, who's going to stay in my room? And it is. It's awful. It is awful. You kind of just wish them all the best and you support them as much as you can and try and help them with the rental property. And, you know, I offer anything, like whatever I can do to help, whether it's giving you a good reference, you know, whatever it is, just let me know. I'm happy to do whatever it takes to help out. But,
often you're a counsellor too. Often Keenan is a counsellor. Sometimes I'd be worried about Keenan and I'll ring him and it's 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And I say, Keenan, is everything okay? Are you all right? What's happening? And he goes, I'll be home soon, Mel. I'll be home soon. I've just, you know, was talking to a client of mine and, you know, they're just going through a really difficult situation. So I've just, you know, I was just talking to them. That's all. I'll be home soon. And when Keenan comes home, I'll get his dinner ready and I'll sit with him and we'll chat about it. And, you know, so often Keenan's, you know, at people's houses listening to people and counselling people. And, you know, somebody will come up to Keenan and say, I'm thinking about leaving my wife or this or that. And Keenan's like, man, you really sure you want to do that? Families are just so precious these days. You've got children, like, stick it out. You know, and Keenan will often counsel people as well in his job. So I just admire that about you, actually. That
to me, it's not just about getting a listing and then selling a property or, you know, getting a property leased. There's got to be, like, why are you doing this? So people honestly ask, they go, Keenan, what do you think I should do? And honestly, I think a lot of them would just do whatever I tell them to do. But I think practically, and, you know, I've just been through enough of these situations where, you know, in my own family and friends and clients, I've just seen a lot of these because this is my day-to-day thing. So I suppose I am sort of equipped to give advice and to help people in that regard. So I'll just tell them as it is. I tell them, you know, I know you're thinking this, but the reality is this is what I've seen in this situation, and if you do this, that's generally the result. I've seen it all too many times, so I just give them the real deal, you know. Like, there was, as Mel said, there was one client that you know, wanted to leave his partner and take a break, go out of the home. I said, man, don't do it. Like I said, honestly, 9 times out of 10, when you leave the home, you do not return. That's just what I've seen. You know, do what you can to restore your relationship and be with your family, but as soon as you step out of that environment, like, you don't go back. It doesn't work. So I think that is the worst thing you can do, is take a break from your relationship. Like, 9 times out of 10, you don't go back. So that doesn't work unless it's an excuse to say, look, let's take a break and then we'll figure that out later, and you really don't want to figure it out. Possibly could be a reason behind it, but if you really want things to work, don't leave. Even if you've got to sleep on the couch or sleep on the floor, just stick it out. Do it tough, for better, for worse.
Better for worse. True.
Yeah.
The last thing that the last question I have for you is, what life lesson have you learnt from being a real estate agent?
Look, never judge a book by its cover. You really don't know what people are going through. This goes for anyone. It could be for me, it could be a tenant, a landlord, a buyer, or a seller. Sometimes people don't wear their hearts on their sleeves. You really don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So just be compassionate and understanding. You know, people are acting or behaving a particular way. It has to correlate to something that's going on in their life. People just don't lash out and you know, behave in a particular way. So don't let people's behaviour become your form of judgment towards them. I've seen it happen all too many times, and then you know, you'll find out what really is going on behind the scenes, and then, you know, they'll apologise, like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken like that, and, you know, I shouldn't have behaved like that, and this is happening and that's happening. And I've seen that all too many times. I'm never quick to judge people. I, you know, give everyone a fair crack, and just be understanding there's something deeper going on. So to me, never judge a book by its cover. There's always something going on, and you can take that into anything, into, you know, into family, into anything in life. Like, if someone is behaving a particular way, there's something deeper going on inside. So to me, I like to be able to dig, ask questions, find out, and do what I can. You do whatever you can to help people.
And that actually reminds me of the story that we had with one of our tenants that we had. Some people know this story. Some people may have seen it on our Facebook page or our Instagram page when it was that Are You OK Day. Maybe we should explain that story for our viewers, because not a lot of people know this story. In actual fact, Keenan got asked to share this story at another local real estate agency with their staff. A good friend of Keenan's asked Keenan to come over and explain the story to his staff, and then another real estate agent, wanted Keenan to explain the story to his staff, and it's just like this effect that's just going through some of the agents in the local area. But anyway, well, maybe we should share this story. What do you think?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we had a tenant of ours who was behind on his rent, and we just couldn't contact this person. We couldn't get a hold of him. Emails, texts, phone calls, nothing. So one day Keenan and our property manager were driving and at an appointment, and they were coming back, and Keenan said, wait, why don't we just do a U-turn and quickly go just check up on the house, make sure everything's okay. And I just feel it in, this gut feeling, just drive, let's just go there. So they did. Keenan knocked on the door, looked around, everything was quiet, no one was in there, it was all dark and whatnot. Anyway, long story short, Keenan kept knocking on the door, no answer, but Keenan just felt to just keep knocking, even though it didn't look like anyone was in there. He kept knocking, kept knocking, kept knocking. Finally the door opens. It was the tenant, and Keenan said, hey man, what's going on? Like, why aren't you answering our calls? You haven't paid your rent, what's going on? And he looked in a really bad way. Long story, very, very long story short, Keenan sat with him in the house. Keenan spoke to him. Keenan stayed with him. Keenan listened to him. Keenan said, do you have any money? He emptied his pockets and said, I've got nothing, Keenan. So Keenan gave him some money and said, go buy yourself something to eat. And Keenan stayed with him for a long time, actually. And then this grown man was crying and said, I'm having a really hard time. And Keenan said, look, give me 24 hours. I'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, to check up on you. I don't know what to do. Like, I should be having the police here, getting you evicted, and there's just a whole situation and whatnot. And thankfully our landlord was just so beautiful and compassionate. He knew what was going on from the day, from everything. He was very well informed, and he was very compassionate and very cool about the situation. So we're very blessed in that sense. And anyway, so Keenan comes back to the office a couple of hours later. He gives you a call and says,
calls me, and again, this guy hasn't been contactable for like weeks, so he calls me and he goes, Keenan, I just want to thank you for what you've done today. And I'm like, it's all good. I just knocked on the door, wanted to see what was going on, hope you're okay. And I needed to inform our landlord what was happening, so I was just happy I was able to connect with you. And he's like, he started crying, and he's like, no, he goes, look, you'll never understand what you've done for me. And I'm like, what have I done? And he's like, just before you came knocking on the door, he goes, I was in the garage about to do something stupid. And I said, what? I said, no, don't tell me. He goes, yeah, he goes, I would have disappointed a lot of people. He goes, I would have disappointed my family, my 2 kids, they wouldn't have had a dad. And he's just sobbing uncontrollably. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, you're for real? He's like, yes. He goes, so I said, as I'm pulling up to your house, knocking on the door, you are in the garage about to, he goes, Keenan, he goes, I've had a rope set up in my garage for days. He goes, I just didn't have the strength and the courage to do it. He goes, man, I was doing it today. He goes, and then you knocked on the door. He goes, thanks for saving my life. He goes, thanks for, he goes, he goes, I could never repay you. And I'm like, whoa, man, that is, and for like weeks, I just couldn't stop thinking about this. This was the most incredible thing, that's ever happened to me. Like, the highs, the lows, and all the achievements and accolades I've had in life, like that meant nothing. I thought to myself, this is the greatest thing that I've ever done. This is the greatest thing I've ever been a part of. If all I ever did was just be there to save this guy's life, I said, man, I've done my duty on earth. It was just incredible. I'll never forget it. That's something I will absolutely never forget. A very powerful moment, and I'll approach every situation very, very cautiously and differently from here on, because that is life changing. Like, I'll never be the same. That guy will never be the same. That tenant of ours will never be the same.
And our staff will never be the same, because, gosh, you can't help but get teary when you think about this story. And then not only that, but this story had an effect on our staff. We had our staff members that were like, what can we do? Can he come and stay with us? Can we cook him a hot meal? The next day, 2 of our staff members went down there with a massive box of KFC, groceries, milk, bread, all the essential foods for him. And it's just kindness, love in action, just spreads like wildfire. And we were so proud of our staff members, weren't we?
Oh, for sure.
When their hearts were touched by the story and they just went out and did what they wanted to do in their hearts. And it's just an amazing story. But
Incredible.
we're just so thankful, actually, that you were at the right place at the right time. And as you said, going back to what you said before, you just never judge people, because you just don't know what they're going through.
You never do.
That is an awesome life
It was
lesson.
it was a divine timing, and I just felt it in me and I acted on it. That's it. That's all you need to do. Sometimes things seem strange and weird, and just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
All right, I'm going to go pick up the little one from daycare. Random fact about you. What's one random fact about you?
One random fact about me. One random fact is I love Formula One.
Oh, yes.
And absolutely love it. So that's a random fact. I'll watch every race, love it. Even on my Foxtel going to bed, and she's hearing there.
And he changes his cars every 2 years or something, this guy. I've got to go.
She's lucky I haven't. No, I'm joking.
Trade
Lucky
me.
I haven't tried to do it yet.
I'm going to steal this coffee now. Thanks for the chat, guys.